A ring in the silence. The love that waited by the bedside. In the cold stillness of a hospital room, where time stretches and hope flickers like a distant star, a quiet miracle unfolded, not only of recovery but of a love tested, deepened, and ultimately affirmed. When Lee Too Deep fell gravely ill and underwent a high-risk surgery, her chances were uncertain. But in that liminal space between life and death, she clung to the thinnest thread of life, and survived. Slowly, she began to recover, her strength returning like blossoms after winter. And by her side, every moment, was James. James had never left the sterile white hospital room. He sat motionless by her bed, his eyes locked on her pale face, afraid that if he blinked, she might slip away. Machines beeped rhythmically, each sound drilling into his heart like a metronome of fear. Her skin was pallid, her lips dry, and her body gaunt, but to James, she was still the woman who had filled his life with light. Not for her beauty, but because she had become the keeper of his memories, his laughter, his future. Then, in that profound silence, James reached into his jacket. His fingers found a small, worn velvet box, one he had carried for months, always waiting for the right moment. A beach at sunset, a candlelit rooftop dinner, something cinematic. But life had other plans. Now, as the love of his life lay fragile and silent before him, he knew there would be no more waiting. He placed the ring box on his knee like a silent vow, brushed a strand of her tangled hair with trembling fingers, and whispered, "Deep, you have to be strong." "We haven't had our wedding. We haven't built our home. I haven't even had the chance to be your husband." It wasn't just a proposal. It was a lifeline, a declaration that if she had the strength to return, he would be waiting. Not just with flowers, but with forever. In the days that followed, James remained at her bedside. Every tiny improvement, the warmth returning to her cheeks, a deeper breath, a flicker of life in her eyes, became a reason to believe. And then, one morning, it happened. Deep opened her eyes and smiled. The room, once cold and clinical, seemed suddenly lit from within, not by electricity, but by love. She sat up gently, propped by pillows, reading messages of encouragement from friends. Though still weak, there was strength in her gaze, a quiet fire reigniting. James stood at the door, overwhelmed by gratitude. He slipped the ring box back into his pocket and approached her. "Deep," he called, his voice barely louder than a breath. She looked up, her brown eyes wide with surprise and tenderness. "What is it, James?" she asked, her voice soft but steady. He sat beside her, took her hand, and opened the box. Inside, the platinum ring caught the morning light. I almost lost you, he said, voice cracking. And I can't live another day without calling you my wife. Tears welled in Deep's eyes. She had dreamed of this moment, but now, in this hospital room filled with the scent of antiseptic and the sound of machines, it was more real than any fantasy. James knelt, holding the ring, his voice trembling. I love you, Deep. From the moment I saw you laughing in the rain, I knew. Will you marry me? Will you walk through life with me, through storms and sunshine, through every tomorrow? She could barely speak. Her hand rose, fragile but unwavering, and rested in his. Yes, James, she whispered. He slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, as though made for this very moment. They held each other, heartbeats aligned, wrapped not in grand declarations but in a love that had already weathered its fiercest test. Later that day, James called his parents. She's out of danger, he said, voice trembling with relief. And then, after a pause, I proposed. There was a silence on the other end, not of disapproval, but of speechless joy. His mother wept. His father, usually reserved, let out a rare, heartfelt laugh. You made the right choice, son, he said warmly. Let's welcome her into our family. James recounted every detail, her smile, her nod, the tearful joy. His parents listened, tears falling miles away, yet connected by love. She must love you so much, his mother whispered. To fight that hard to stay with you, his father added. Marriage isn't about the easy days. It's about holding each other up through the worst. And you two already know how to do that. James returned to Deep's side. She was sleeping again, her hand still curled in his. He bent down and kissed her forehead. They love you already, he whispered. The future is waiting. Let's walk it together, hand in hand, heart to heart. In that quiet hospital room, under the soft glow of morning light, a new chapter began, not in grand fanfare, but in the quiet, steady pulse of a love that had endured everything.